Are you sick of opening your YouTube feed and seeing the exact same 5 faces staring back at you? It feels like the algorithm has trapped us in a vintage audio time warp. But here's the truth. There isn't a shortage of great content. There's just a shortage of discovery. Buried on page 10 of your search results are hundreds of incredible, underappreciated channels that deserve your attention. Today, I'm bypassing the algorithm and digging up the hidden gems you've been missing. Trust me, your subscription list is about to get a major upgrade. So how did we get here? If you watched my last video, you know that I asked for your help to put together a video that would show the best vintage audio channels here on YouTube, and the response has been absolutely incredible. First off, a massive thank you to all of you who jumped into the comments section. Your suggestions poured in, and with your help, I've compiled a list of over 50 YouTube channels that are dedicated to keeping the golden age of audio alive. That's right, over 50 of them, many of them with less than 10,000 subscribers, and some of them with less than 1,000 subscribers. And coming up, you're going to see every single one of them, and it's going to include a 30 to 45 second summary by me on each channel. And I think you're going to see some big surprises that you don't expect. But bear with me for a couple minutes and let me explain to you how my ideas changed about this video from my first thoughts a couple weeks ago, and how you can have a large influence on these small channels being successful here on YouTube. In the last video, I talked about putting your suggestions into categories: technical heroes, history buffs, reviewers, and entertainment. Well, that wasn't going to work as I started to compile this list of channels. I found that many of the channels just did not fall into a category. As I went through your fantastic recommendations, a clear theme emerged. There are so many hidden gems out there, incredible channels doing amazing work that aren't getting the recognition they deserve. They're often overshadowed by the sheer volume of content on YouTube, and that's something I want to help change. So instead of compiling these channels into categories, what I've done is compile them by subscription numbers. So the hidden gems with few subscribers are coming up first in the list, and the large channels that most of you know, they're coming last on the list. I should have asked you for the best hidden vintage audio channels, as it turns out. I want to shine a spotlight on those incredible creators who consistently produce high-quality content but might just need a little boost to find their audience. They are the unsung heroes of the vintage audio YouTube scene. Channels based in the United States, Canada, Australia, Spain, Romania, Russia, the United Kingdom. Many don't get the recognition they deserve. And this is where you, the vintage audio community, come in. Your individual support can make an enormous difference to these smaller channels. A single subscription, a thoughtful comment, a like, or simply watching a video all the way through. These actions have a huge impact. For a small channel, every single one of these interactions can literally make their day and motivate them to keep creating. I'm asking the entire vintage audio community to help spread the word far beyond YouTube. Let's take this list of hidden gems to places like Audio Karma, Tapeheads, Steve Hoffman music forums, Facebook groups, Reddit, wherever you are active in the vintage audio community. Tell people that there are countless passionate creators here on YouTube dedicating their time and expertise to vintage audio, and many of them are just waiting to be discovered. Leave your comments down below about this video, and also I'm very curious about what hidden gems you guys have found, because I found a bunch of channels I never knew existed, and I was surprised at the quality of some of them. So please let me know what you guys think also. Let's get started with that incredible list. The format I used for this video is as follows. Up in the top left-hand corner, you're going to see the header for the YouTube channel. Along with the header, you're going to see how many subscribers that channel has, in addition to how many videos they've created. Over to your right, you're going to see a representation of thumbnails from that channel, showing the type of videos that they've produced. At the bottom will be a video clip of one of their videos from their YouTube channel. This will be the graphic you'll be viewing as I give a 30 to 45 second summary of each channel. Let's get this show on the road. The YouTube channel Vintage Audio Chronicles focuses on the history, reviews, and nostalgic look back at classic audio components from the golden age of hi-fi. The channel presents deep dives into legendary brands and models, covering everything from early solid-state equipment to speakers. Its content aims to educate enthusiasts on the evolution, significance, and lasting appeal of high-fidelity stereo equipment from the past decades. The My Tiny Bench channel focuses on the repair of various vintage electronics. It's a very small channel with very few videos, but I'm really impressed by the gentleman's skill level. I think with some encouragement, the channel could move forward in a very positive manner. Just ignore the squirrel and the tiny bench at the beginning of his videos. This is the only channel when I did my summary that I used the channel's actually description of itself. How could I say anything better than what's said here? Welcome, I was born with a rare birth difference called phocomelia. I face many challenges, but I love listening to music and rebuilding vintage electronics. I'm humbled you've taken the time to view my channel. It's my greatest desire that after you view my videos, you leave feeling encouraged and determined. It's also my hope that you've strengthened and your accomplishments are many. God bless. Steve's Vintage Electronics Long Stop Workshop is hosted by Steve, who is an engineer that did work for the BBC transmitter department. He works on both solid state and tube equipment and many radios, but also some tape recorders. The remarkable thing about Steve is he does this despite only having one working arm due to a stroke. Even with his disability, Steve has a lot to offer in his experience, and he offers that experience in his videos. The Audio Channel provides technical but accessible reviews and comparisons of both modern and vintage audio equipment. The host focuses on comparing audio quality across different price points and eras, helping viewers upgrade their systems with components that offer the best performance, whether they are modern digital products or classic analog products. The YouTube channel Vintage Stereo Collector is devoted to showcasing, reviewing, and collecting classic vintage stereo and hi-fi equipment. The content includes overviews and deep dives into iconic components like the Macintosh 1700 receiver, classic Sansui models, and Pioneer receivers. The channel also covers speaker-related topics such as the AR vintage speakers. The focus is on appreciating the history, sound, and collection aspect of this classic audio gear. The YouTube channel Dale's Vintage Audio specializes in demonstrations and hands-on restoration of classic stereo equipment. The channel focuses heavily on iconic receivers and components, featuring repairs, restoration processes, and demo videos for brands like Sansui, Kenwood, and Pioneer. The content is geared toward enthusiasts who appreciate seeing vintage gear brought back to working order and hearing its sound quality. The Atelier HiFi Channel, run by Peter, specializes in deep restoration, repair, and technical analysis of vintage high-end amplifiers, particularly those featuring rare components like VFETs. The host focuses on classic Japanese audiophile brands like Yamaha and Sony. Content includes restoration logs, detailed bench tests, component replacement, and discussions on design. The YouTube channel HearNetAU specializes in the repair and restoration of high-end vintage hi-fi equipment with a primary focus on classic CD players. The channel provides detailed technical videos showcasing the internal workings, service, and complex alignment procedures for audiophile-grade components from brands such as Mark Levinson, Marantz, and Wadia. It serves as a resource for audio enthusiasts interested in the maintenance and revival of classic stereo systems. The ATO Audio Channel is dedicated to vintage stereo repair, restoration, and custom work, with a focus on hi-fi brands like Pioneer, Sansui, Marantz, and even realistic receivers and amplifiers. The channel provides detailed repair tutorials, including recapping and custom wood case builds, demonstrating the hands-on process of bringing classic gear back to life. With over 126 videos in its first year, the channel serves as a resource for do-it-yourself enthusiasts and celebrates the pure analog sound of vintage equipment. The YouTube channel Vintage JBL is dedicated to vintage audio equipment, specializing in the restoration of classic JBL speakers. The content covers comprehensive restoration of JBL speakers, detailing the process of JBL cabinet builds, and also provides various product and music reviews. It's a JBL resource for enthusiasts and collectors interested in the preservation, craftsmanship, and performance of older high-quality audio equipment. The Retro Electro Tech is a vintage audio restoration channel, and it's hosted by Retro Ernest, who operates a small repair and restoration service in central Maine. The channel focuses meticulously on the technical servicing of vintage audio equipment, including receivers, amplifiers, and turntables. The videos leverage Ernest's decades of experience in electronics work to offer detailed maintenance tips and document complex repairs on classic gear. The Chicago Horn Loudspeaker Guys channel is hosted by Tom Brennan and Quing Lee, two retired enthusiasts dedicated to horn-loaded loudspeaker technology. The channel focuses heavily on the history, design, and performance of both classic and modern horn systems, with a strong emphasis on vintage brands like Eltec Lansing, JBL, and Klipsch. Content includes historical deep dives, system demonstrations, interviews with horn enthusiasts, and technical discussions on components like tubes, drivers, and crossovers. The YouTube channel The Vintage Vibe is dedicated to the appreciation, review, and preservation of vintage high-fidelity audio equipment. The channel features in-depth showcases of classic gear such as amplifiers, turntables, and speakers from iconic brands like Sony, Kenwood, Denon, and Bose. Content typically includes detailed reviews, rare equipment unboxings, and technical discussions on audio specifications and restoration. The channel serves as a resource for enthusiasts looking to explore the history and performance of old-school stereo components. The Marius HiFi Channel, run by Marius, is dedicated to the technical restoration, detailed audio testing, and in-depth reviews of vintage hi-fi stereo equipment. The channel frequently features meticulous multi-part restoration journeys for monster receivers as well as integrated amplifiers. Content often includes sound tests, component breakdowns, wiring guides, and technical discussions on why certain vintage models are highly valued by audiophiles. The YouTube channel Vintage Audio Fan is run by a self-proclaimed die-hard vintage audio fan who focuses primarily on repairing projects. The channel's goal is to share the creator's experiences and technical methods for dealing with various audio issues, providing DIY fans with solutions and tips to solve common problems. It serves as a platform for open sharing and community feedback, allowing viewers to engage with the technical challenges and sonic adventure of restoring vintage equipment. The channel Big Matt is dedicated entirely to the world of reel-to-reel tape decks and vintage audio equipment. The creator buys, sells, trades, restores, repairs, and modifies these machines, making the channel a resource for enthusiasts and potential buyers. It serves as a showcase for various available tape decks, with the full inventory often accessible via the creator's associated Facebook page. Savin' Vegas is a YouTube channel dedicated to the restoration, modification, and appreciation of vintage Surin Vega speakers. Run by an audio enthusiast, the content primarily features detailed DIY projects including refoaming woofers, upgrading crossovers, and applying new veneer to classic cabinets. It's a go-to resource for audiophiles and hobbyists looking to preserve the old-school Surin Vega sound. The Andy's Audio Krapp channel is hosted by Andy, who provides honest, personality-driven reviews, demonstrations, and repairs of a wide variety of hi-fi components, with a strong focus on vintage audio equipment. Andy covers everything from turntables and cassette players to receivers and amplifiers. The content often tackles budget-friendly audiophile goals, such as building a complete vintage stereo system for under $1,000, and includes practical upgrades and deep dive comparisons. The Miller Vintage HiFi channel is a hands-on resource where the host Tom documents his journey repairing and restoring vintage hi-fi equipment. The channel's content consists of numerous videos, over 500, covering troubleshooting, disassembly, maintenance, and reviews of classic stereo gear. It serves as a community space where enthusiasts can follow along and enjoy the process of bringing old audio equipment back to working order. The YouTube channel Audible Elegance is hosted by Lou Hamilton, who presents himself as the audio and home theater truth teller. This channel is an extension of the Cincinnati-based HiFi Audio Store, offering viewers sensible advice, reviews, and deep dives into both modern and vintage high-fidelity equipment. The content focuses on analyzing classic audio icons and discussing the value, quality, and legacy of vintage gear from brands like Macintosh, Marantz, and Sansui. Vintage Audio Review (VAR) is dedicated to the appreciation, repair, and objective analysis of classic stereo equipment. The host shares his passion for collecting and restoring vintage hi-fi gear, often providing detailed measurements and performance data for the amplifiers, receivers, and speakers from decades past. The channel balances deep technical dives with listening tests, offering useful insights for both seasoned collectors and those new to the hobby. The channel HiFi Jam is dedicated to the repair and restoration of old audio equipment. The creator, who identifies as an amateur, shares their passion for fixing vintage gear, noting its satisfying blend of electromechanical complexity, repairability, and affordability. The channel serves as an enjoyable platform for learning and welcomes advice from the community. The Cassette Deck and Walkman Repairs channel is hosted by Renee, who draws upon his professional experience repairing brands like Kenwood, Yamaha, and Pioneer. The channel is a highly technical resource dedicated to the repair and maintenance of vintage cassette decks and Walkmans. Content includes detailed tutorials on troubleshooting, belt replacement, motor modification, and a comprehensive 7 steps to repair any cassette deck guide, aiming to share professional tips with the growing analog audio community. The Gianelli Channel is centered on the repair, restoration, and technical analysis of vintage audio equipment and electronic test gear. Ray, a seasoned electronics enthusiast, shares his meticulous troubleshooting philosophy, explains how to read schematic diagrams, and provides detailed component testing. He frequently works on classic hi-fi brands like Fisher, Marantz, Carver, and Sound Craftsman, and also creates educational videos on basic electronics for technicians. HiFirulezzz Channel is dedicated to the world of analog sound and the vintage equipment restoration hobby. It invites viewers to join a journey back in time, focusing on the revival of classic audio gears, specifically vintage decks, to relive the days of great music. Content focuses on detailed restorations, technical upgrades, and demonstrations of high-end cassette decks, such as models from Nakamichi and the Sony ES line. The Audio Thrift channel is a highly encouraging resource dedicated to making the world of vintage stereo equipment accessible to novices and first-time buyers. Andrew's main message is, "If I can do it, so can you," as he is still learning himself. Content focuses on secondhand finds from thrift stores and estate sales, featuring unique pieces like realistic speakers and other budget-friendly gear. Videos include overviews, simple cleanups, and easy DIY fixes. The Joe's Bench 506 channel is run by Joe, a paramedic with a passion for repairing and restoring electronics. Joe focuses with hands-on repairs for a variety of vintage and sometimes modern equipment, driven by a desire to keep functional items out of the landfills. The channel features troubleshooting and restoration videos on vintage audio equipment like Pioneer receivers, Technics turntables, and Bose systems, all presented with a helpful do-it-yourself approach. The YouTube channel Q Audio is dedicated to all things related to vintage audio equipment. The content focuses on a variety of subjects within the audio hobby, including testing equipment, speaker do-it-yourself projects, and reviews of components. The channel serves as a resource for audio enthusiasts interested in older gear, technical projects, and general audio-related topics. The host invites viewers to join their community for discussions and content. The YouTube channel Tube Lab is dedicated to the technical analysis, testing, and understanding of tube electronics. The host provides deep dive reviews, experiments, and comparisons of different tubes and audio concepts. The content often addresses critical listening, tube numbering systems, and the performance of specific components, catering to serious auto enthusiasts and DIY builders interested in the science behind tube gear. The Liquid Audio channel, run by Liquid Mike in Perth, Western Australia, is dedicated to the professional service, repair, and meticulous restoration of classic hi-fi electronics. As an independent specialist, the channel documents detailed technical breakdowns and repairs of high-end vintage gear from brands like Quad, Accuphase, Marantz, and Pioneer. The content is focused on precision servicing and preserving the integrity of collector-grade equipment. Prime HiFi is a YouTube channel dedicated to the detailed restoration and repair of vintage high-fidelity audio equipment. Specializing in golden era electronics, the channel features in-depth technical videos that document the servicing of classic amplifiers, receivers, and preamps from iconic brands like Sansui, Pioneer, and Marantz. Content typically includes step-by-step repair processes, such as recapping circuit boards and fixing power supplies, followed by sound demonstrations of the fully restored units. It's a go-to resource for audiophiles and DIY hobbyists interested in the preservation of vintage audio gear. The Lancaster HiFi Channel focuses on the repair, restoration, and modification of a diverse range of vintage audio gear. The host, Steven, works on both solid-state and tube equipment, including integrated amplifiers, receivers, preamplifiers, turntables, and speakers. Videos cover technical discussions such as the history and mechanics of receivers and turntables, alongside do-it-yourself restoration projects and reviews of upgrades for classic systems. The YouTube channel TJ the Stereo Bargainphile is dedicated to comprehensive reviews of two-channel stereo audio equipment, primarily focusing on hi-fi gear. The channel provides in-depth analysis and listening impressions of both vintage and modern components, including integrated amplifiers, receivers, speakers, and DACs. The channel's namesake highlights a focus on finding high-performance audio bargains for audiophiles on a budget. Content also includes practical tutorials such as connecting a subwoofer to different types of amplifiers. It serves as a resource for stereo enthusiasts seeking detailed breakdowns and value recommendations. The Turntable Guy Channel is a dedicated resource for vintage turntable enthusiasts, offering in-depth videos on repair, maintenance, and general servicing. The channel provides step-by-step guides for fixing common issues like slow speed, stiff tone arms, and fast-dropping cueing mechanisms on classic models from brands like Pioneer, Techniques, Dual, and Realistic. The content is highly practical, featuring full-service teardowns, overviews, and comparisons to help viewers keep their vinyl playing gear operating reliably for years. The Duality Repair channel is hosted by Nick, who specializes in the meticulous troubleshooting and repair of vintage and high-end solid-state audio equipment. The channel's content features detailed diagnostic, service, and circuit analysis of components like power amplifiers and preamplifiers from brands such as Carver, Adcom, Parasound, and NAD. Nick focuses on documentation and explaining the theory behind the repairs, making it an excellent resource for complex service work. The Novalux Stereophonic channel is run by Ben, who specializes in the high-quality restoration and in-depth technical analysis of high-end vintage hi-fi equipment. Until recently operating out of New York City, now in the Hudson Valley, the channel is known for its meticulous repair videos and comprehensive overviews of classic gear, including monster receivers like the Pioneer SX1250 and the Sansui G9000, rare tube amplifiers like the Macintosh 200, and vintage preamplifiers. Content often includes full teardowns, bench testing, and explanations of complex circuitry. The HiFi Cafe Barcelona channel is dedicated to the high-fidelity sound, blending a passion for vintage audio restoration with modern innovation. The channel primarily serves the Spanish-speaking audiophile community, featuring video content on restoring classic gear, comparing old versus new hi-fi components, reviewing modern equipment, and organizing vintage audio events in the Barcelona area. The HiFi Cafe Barcelona channel emphasizes the enjoyment and community aspect of the hobby. The Spare Time Repair channel, hosted by Graham, focuses on the repair, restoration, and modification of various electronics, with a recent emphasis on vintage CD players and other audio equipment, typically sourced from thrift stores or eBay. Graham's videos document the hands-on process of fixing and servicing older gear, offering insights into troubleshooting common faults found in classic components. What type of video camera are you using, Graham? The video is just outstanding. Looks like Hollywood. The Trevor's Bench channel is a vintage audio enthusiast channel dedicated to the detailed repair, restoration, and troubleshooting of classic hi-fi components. The host Trevor often features long-form videos showcasing complete restorations of vintage receivers, amplifiers, and turntables from brands like Marantz, Sansui, and Luxman. The content documents the full process, from acquiring flea market finds to the final bench testing, making it a valuable resource for do-it-yourself hobbyists interested in the technical revival of old-school stereo gear. The YouTube channel MoRoZ Workshop focuses almost exclusively on the aesthetic restoration and repair of vintage loudspeaker cabinets and Soviet-era acoustic systems. The videos showcase the meticulous process of wood and cabinet restoration for iconic speakers like the Pioneer CS922A, the Marantz HD77, and various Russian models. It highlights the transformation of heavily worn speaker enclosures back to their original or audiophile finish, appealing to enthusiasts of vintage audio design and woodworking craftsmanship. The Geraldine HiFi Channel is hosted by Geraldine, who shares her passion for vintage hi-fi, music collection, and the aesthetics of audio equipment. Her content primarily features system tours, vinyl record hauls, especially 1980s music, and discussions on upgrades and accessories for classic stereo gear like Marantz, Pioneer, and JBL. The channel offers a refreshing perspective that values the enjoyment and visual appeal of music systems over purely technical deep dives. The channel Flux Condenser is focused on exploring vintage audio electronics through fun, useful, and sometimes shocking content. Videos are dedicated to equipment restoration, component concepts, electronic theory, and no-nonsense tips and reviews. The creator, known as Flux Condenser, specializes in the technical side of classic hi-fi, inviting viewers to join them for a mix of educational deep dives, humorous segments, and even the occasional fire. The Stereo Niche channel is dedicated exclusively to vintage audio equipment, and it's hosted by Scott. The content is focused on the history, value, and collecting of classic hi-fi gear, including models from iconic brands like Marantz, Pioneer, Sansui, and Macintosh. Videos frequently deep dive into collectibles, sales trends in the vintage audio market, summaries of receivers and speaker reviews, and tips on buying and identifying top-shelf components. And by the way, Scott has a huge personal collection of vintage audio equipment that he is now in the process of selling, but hopefully he'll leave his videos up on YouTube. The Skunky Designs Electronics channel is dedicated to the design, building, and in-depth technical analysis of custom tube audio gear. The channel focuses on single-ended and push-pull tube amplifiers, preamps, and related circuitry, often utilizing rare or vintage tubes. While primarily a DIY resource, the channel provides meticulous schematics, detailed wiring layouts, and scientific testing, aiming to empower hobbyists to build and understand their own high-fidelity tube equipment. The My Own Devices audio channel is hosted by an enthusiast who covers a mix of new, used, and vintage audio gear, believing analog and digital, it's all good. The content balances reviews of entry-level modern components with discussions and demonstrations of classic equipment like turntables, vintage receivers, and tube equipment. The host focuses on practical user experiences, offering short-format opinions and showcasing his own setups, often featuring highly sought-after vintage components. The Jordan Pierre channel is a highly diversified electronics repair and restoration channel focused heavily on vintage electronics and old miscellaneous stuff, including vintage audio equipment. The content features the host's detailed hands-on work in troubleshooting, servicing, and restoring items like classic televisions, fans, appliances, and audio gear. The channel documents the entire repair journey, sharing his process and technical abilities with viewers. The YouTube channel Matt Coy Kendall focuses primarily on modern audio reviews, technology projects, and do-it-yourself speaker builds. The content delves into high-fidelity gear, reviewing products like DACs, streamers, and headphone amplifiers, alongside discussions on audio concepts and vinyl. While his main focus is modern, his videos do include references to vintage audio, such as comparisons between vintage and modern CD players and topics like simple upgrades to modernize a vintage receiver. His content aims to bridge the gap between classic audiophile principles and new technology. The Cassette Comeback Archive is a channel dedicated to the nostalgia and joy of the compact cassette. Active from 2018 to 2024, the channel aimed to dispel the notion that cassettes are poor quality by documenting detailed tests, reviews, and historical looks at various blank tape formulations. It provided deep technical insight into cassette performance, recording basics, and calibration, serving as an archive for enthusiasts of the analog format and its resurgence. The Stereo Review X channel, hosted by Kelvin, is dedicated to the review, modification, and direct comparison of vintage HiFi equipment, focusing especially on the tangible impact of components and upgrades. The content features detailed sound tests, comparing different capacitors or vintage speakers, and explores topics like capacitor sound coloration. Kelvin aims to provide practical, often subjective, guidance and demonstrations for audio enthusiasts looking to optimize the sound of their classic gear. The Old Guy HiFi Channel is hosted by Ed, an audiophile with over 50 years of industry experience. The channel operates under a music-first philosophy. Ed uses the subjective listening experience over technical measurements, which Ed dismisses as a complete waste of time. He provides candid, in-depth interviews and personal insights on both vintage and modern hi-fi gear, including amplifiers, receivers, and speakers, focusing on how the equipment enhances the enjoyment of music. The Forever Analog channel, hosted by Aaron Hartley, is dedicated to high-fidelity audio, specializing in reviews, equipment tutorials, and history for new, used, and vintage gear. The content maintains a strong focus on analog media, offering practical how-to guides alongside product reviews. Aaron, a CD junkie and vintage vendor, aims to help customers properly buy and set up quality audio components, often exploring the resurgence of physical media. The Off-Fix-It channel is a hands-on resource focused heavily on vintage audio repair and demonstration, with occasional automotive content mixed in. Off-Fix-It provides detailed troubleshooting and restoration guides for classic equipment like Marantz, Pioneer, and Sansui. Videos cover everything from common problems like dead channels and high DC offset using basic tools to tackling complex restoration projects on high-end, broken, or incorrectly restored gear. The YouTube channel Roger Gadget Guy is focused on providing accessible information about home electronics for a non-technical audience. The content aims to help viewers get the best performance from their electronics. While the main focus is on modern home entertainment and gadgets, the channel's general subject area often includes discussions and comparisons related to high-quality sound equipment, which frequently involves vintage audio gear and restoration debates. The Shuxton Audio channel, run by Matt Deely, is focused on the repair and customization of vintage audio equipment, primarily amplifiers, receivers, and turntables. Operating out of Bellingham, Washington, Matt offers a technical, hands-on approach to restoring gear. His videos feature detailed repair logs, component replacement, aesthetic restoration, and budget-friendly vintage system building. X-Ray Tony B is a highly respected channel dedicated to in-depth repair and full restoration of vintage audio equipment. Tony focuses on methodical, bench-based troubleshooting of iconic 1970s and 80s solid-state receivers and amplifiers, tuners, vacuum tube equipment, just about anything. He uses specialized test equipment to teach viewers how to diagnose complex faults in analog circuits, rebuild power supplies, and perform detailed restoration work on classic brands. It is a top technical resource for keeping high-end classic stereo gear running. And if I were assisting Tony, I've only got one question for you, Tony. What do you like in your coffee? The Blue Glow Electronics channel specializes in the technical repair and meticulous restoration of vintage vacuum tube audio equipment with a secondary focus on general electronics. The show's host, Mark, consistently documents the servicing of classic components like Marantz and Dynaco and other vintage gear. While Blue Glow Electronics does not take on customer work, the videos are educational, often including deep dives into electronics theory and showing bench testing to help viewers learn DIY repair and restoration. Vintage Audio Addict is a haven for hi-fi enthusiasts, offering expert restoration guides and deep dives into legendary gear like Marantz and Sansui. Chris, the host, is a wizard at bringing back dead electronics to life when he isn't busy ghosting his own audience. He recently resurfaced after a mysterious 18-month hiatus, proving that like a finicky tube amp, he occasionally requires a long warm-up period. Notably, this wasn't his first vanishing act. Much like an intermittent channel on a vintage receiver, he has a history of going silent before suddenly blasting back with high-quality content. The D-Lab Electronics channel is run by Terry, who specializes in hands-on restoration, repair, and modification of vintage tube electronics. While primarily focused on vintage tube guitar amps and ham radio equipment, the channel also features general vintage audio repair, custom tube amplifier builds, and electronics tech tips. Terry left corporate America to run D-Lab full-time, dedicating his decades of experience to keeping classic tube technology operational. The Lenny Florentine channel is dedicated to the world of hi-fi and vintage audio, featuring weekly vlogs from the best hi-fi store on the East Coast, All Elite Audio, which he founded. Lenny travels the country treasure hunting for rare and vintage audio components. His content covers everything from buying advice and common mistakes to detailed looks into massive vintage collections. The Skylabs Audio channel is run by Kevin Mole, who owns and operates a brick-and-mortar hi-fi store in West Des Moines, Iowa. This channel focuses on the world of stereo equipment and vinyl records. The content provides insightful discussions, reviews, and comprehensive lists for both vintage and modern gear. Videos dive deep into the best vintage receivers, expensive audiophile mistakes, vanishing hi-fi features, and market trends, offering valuable guidance for both seasoned enthusiasts and beginners. The 12-Volt Vids channel is hosted by a consumer electronics repair technician with 40 years of experience. The channel focuses on in-depth servicing and repair of a wide variety of consumer electronics, including vintage audio equipment, televisions, and VCRs. The host shares practical troubleshooting techniques and common tricks to fixing problems that appear often in classic gear. The videos offer detailed diagnostics and examinations of both old and new equipment. Mend It Mark showcases the expert repair and restoration of vintage electronics, specializing in audio equipment. Mark's a skilled engineer and uses his deep knowledge and diagnostic prowess to fix classic hi-fi systems, antique radios, and more. His engaging videos detail the fault-finding process and restoration, appealing to enthusiasts of vintage technology. And he seems like a nice guy who throws a little humor into his videos. The Cheap Audio Man channel is hosted by Randy, who aims to help viewers find happiness at all budgets with the healing power of music. The channel focuses on reviewing and discussing affordable audio gear, often comparing budget-friendly modern equipment against classic components. Randy is known for his no-nonsense style and deadpan humor, offering practical advice and discussing the realities of the hi-fi market, including the rising cost and the occasional difficulty of dealing with vintage equipment. Mr. Carlson's Lab is a premier resource for the technical restoration of vintage audio and related vacuum tube electronics. Mr. Carlson provides masterclass level videos on repairing rare equipment, including tube amplifiers, 1950s and 60s radios, and antique audio power supplies. His content is defined by meticulous, schematic-driven troubleshooting and deep dives into electronic theory, making it essential viewing for anyone serious about preserving golden age hi-fi. I hope you found some new favorites in the first edition of the best vintage audio channels on YouTube. I say the first edition because I know I didn't get every single channel in there, and there's always going to be ones to add. So if this video is something you think is worthy of going on, I can just add channels to it over a period of time. Let me know down in the comments, and let me know some of your new favorite channels that you found from this list. When you're viewing the content of that new hidden gem, And don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on those new favorites of yours. And don't forget also to pass those channels on so other people can find these channels, wherever you hang out in the vintage audio world, so their hard work can be recognized as it should be. If you enjoyed this video, please click that like button. And if you're not a subscriber, I'd appreciate it if you considered it. And as always, I appreciate my present subscribers and thank you so much for hanging in there with me. Y'all have a good day.